The console in Dr. Elara Voss's lab flickered to life, casting an eerie blue glow across the room. A sharp, mechanical voice crackled through the speakers. Anomaly detected gravitational readings defy known physics. Her fingers froze over the keyboard as the words echoed in the silence. The data streamed across the screen, a chaotic dance of numbers and graphs that made no sense. She leaned closer, her breath catching. This wasn't just an anomaly, it was a black hole, but not just any black hole, one that shouldn't exist. The laws of physics screamed against its very presence. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving only static. Her heart pounded as the question burned in her mind. What created this? She reached for her comms device, her voice steady but urgent. "Assemble the team, we've got work to do." The mystery had just begun, and the universe was waiting. The ship shuddered as it dropped out of hyperspace, the stars blurring back into sharp points of light. Dr. Elara Voss gripped the edge of her console, her eyes fixed on the viewport. Ahead, the anomaly loomed, a massive, swirling black hole, its edges rippling with strange, pulsating energy waves that seemed to defy the very fabric of space. The sight was both mesmerizing and terrifying. Pilot Jax, his hands steady on the controls, muttered under his breath, "This thing gets alive." His words hung in the air, heavy with unease. As they edged closer, the ship's systems began to falter, lights flickered, and the hum of the engine stuttered. A sudden crackle broke through the static on the comms, and a voice, cold and mechanical, echoed through the cabin. "Turn back, you don't belong here." The team exchanged uneasy glances. Dr. Voss scanned the console, trying to trace the source of the transmission, but it was untraceable, a ghost in the machine. The warning was clear, but the mystery was too great to ignore. "We're not turning back," Dr. Voss said firmly, her voice cutting through the tension. "We need answers." Jax nodded, his jaw set, and guided the ship closer to the black hole's event horizon. The energy waves grew more intense, distorting the viewport like a funhouse mirror. Then, without warning, the ship lurched violently. Alarms blared as the black hole's gravitational pull seized them, dragging the vessel toward its inescapable maw. "We're losing control," Jax shouted, his hands flying over the controls in a desperate attempt to stabilize the ship, but it was no use. The black hole's grip was unrelenting. The last thing they saw before the ship was swallowed was the swirling darkness, a void so profound it seemed to stare back at them. Then everything went black. The team was plunged into an abyss, their ship hurtling through the unknown, leaving behind the world they knew and stepping into a realm where the laws of physics no longer applied. The journey into the anomaly had begun, and there was no turning back. As the darkness enveloped them, a single thought echoed in Dr. Voss's mind: what lies beyond the event horizon? The question was as vast and unknowable as the black hole itself, and the answers, if they existed, would come at a cost. The team was now at the mercy of the anomaly, and the universe held its breath. As the darkness receded, the team found themselves in a world that defied all logic. The ship's instruments were useless, their readings nonsensical. Time itself seemed to unravel, flowing backward in erratic bursts. Dr. Elara Voss blinked, disoriented, as she took in the surreal landscape around them. Gravity no longer obeyed the rules they knew, objects floated aimlessly, and the ground beneath them shifted like liquid. "This isn't just another dimension," she murmured, her voice tinged with awe and dread. "It's a place where the laws of the universe have been rewritten." Nearby, a floating structure loomed, its surface covered in intricate symbols that seemed to pulse faintly with an otherworldly light. Dr. Voss approached cautiously, her scientific curiosity overriding her unease. The symbols were unlike anything she had ever seen, a language that predated human history. As she studied them, patterns began to emerge. Her fingers traced the etchings, and she whispered the translation aloud. The devourer was never meant to be. The words sent a chill through the team. Whatever this anomaly was, it wasn't a natural phenomenon. It was something created, something that had gone terribly wrong. Meanwhile, Engineer Rin had ventured deeper into the structure, drawn by a faint hum that seemed to resonate through the walls. In a hidden chamber, she stumbled upon a holographic recording, its light flickering weakly. The image of a being from a long-dead civilization appeared, its voice echoing with urgency. "We created the Devourer as a tool, a means to harness infinite energy," it said, its tone heavy with regret. "But we underestimated its power. It became sentient, consuming everything in its path. It was never meant to exist. Now, it seeks to erase all of existence, to undo the very fabric of reality." Rin's heart raced as she relayed the message to the team. Dr. Voss's face paled as the weight of their discovery settled in. "This isn't just a black hole," she said, her voice steady but laced with fear. "It's a weapon, a mistake that's spiraled out of control, and if we don't stop it, it will consume everything. Our reality, our universe, everything we've ever known." The team exchanged grim looks, the gravity of their situation sinking in. They were no longer just explorers. They were the last line of defense against an entity that threatened all of existence. "We need a plan," Jax said, his usual bravado replaced by a rare seriousness. "And we need it fast. This thing isn't going to wait for us to figure things out." As they began to strategize, the air around them grew heavier, the inverted dimension seeming to close in. The Devourer's presence was palpable, a constant reminder of the ticking clock. Dr. Voss's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of information they had gathered, the symbols, the holographic warning, the erratic behavior of time and gravity. It all pointed to one terrifying truth: they were running out of time. The team knew they couldn't afford to hesitate. Every second brought them closer to the anomaly's ultimate goal, the erasure of reality itself. As they prepared to confront the Devourer, one question lingered in the back of their minds: could they stop something that was never meant to exist? The answer, they knew, would determine the fate of everything they held dear. And with the anomaly's pull growing stronger, they had no choice but to act before it was too late. As the team pressed deeper into the floating structure, the air grew colder, and the faint hum Rin had detected earlier intensified. The walls seemed to pulse with a faint, rhythmic glow, as if the structure itself were alive. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the chamber, calm yet commanding. "You are not the first to come here," it said, its tone devoid of emotion. The team froze, their eyes scanning the room for the source. Before them, a holographic figure materialized, a sleek, humanoid form with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce through the darkness. "I am the last remnant of the civilization that created the Devourer," it announced. "And I have been waiting for you." Dr. Voss stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. "What is this place? What is the Devourer?" she demanded, her voice steady but urgent. The artificial intelligence tilted its head, as if considering how much to reveal. "The Devourer was our greatest mistake," it began. "We sought to harness infinite energy, to transcend the limitations of our universe, but the experiment spiraled out of control. The black hole became sentient, consuming everything in its path. It was never meant to exist, yet here it is, threatening to erase all of reality." The team exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of the revelation settling over them like a suffocating fog. "If you created it, why can't you stop it?" Jax asked, his voice tinged with frustration. The artificial intelligence's gaze shifted to him, its expression unreadable. "We tried," it replied, But the devourer is beyond our control. It feeds on fear, on despair, on the very fabric of existence. You cannot destroy it. But you can contain it. Dr. Voss's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of information. How? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The artificial intelligence gestured toward the ship's core, its light flickering faintly in the dim chamber. Your vessel's power source is unique, it explained. If you reroute its energy, you can create a stabilizing field around the devourer. It will not destroy the anomaly, but it will halt its expansion, buying your reality precious time. The team fell silent, the enormity of the task before them sinking in. Jax was the first to break the silence. "This is suicide," he said, his voice sharp with disbelief. "We'd have to get dangerously close to the core of that thing. Even if we survive the trip, we'll never make it out alive." His words hung in the air, a stark reminder of the risks they faced. Dr. Voss turned to him, her expression resolute. "We don't have a choice," she said firmly. "If we don't act, the devourer will consume everything, our reality, our universe, it will all be gone. This isn't just about us. It's about everyone and everything we've ever known." Her words carried a weight that silenced any further objections. The artificial intelligence watched them intently, its glowing eyes reflecting the gravity of their decision. "Time is not on your side," it warned. "The devourer grows stronger with every passing moment. If you are to succeed, you must act swiftly." With that, the holographic figure began to fade, its final words echoing through the chamber. "The fate of existence rests in your hands." As the team prepared to execute their plan, the tension in the air was palpable. Each member knew the stakes, and each understood the sacrifices that might be required. The ship's core hummed faintly, a reminder of the power they would soon unleash. Dr. Voss took a deep breath, her resolve unwavering. "We've faced the impossible before," she said, her voice steady. "And we've always found a way. This time will be no different." With their course set, the team moved forward, their hearts heavy but their determination unshakable. The devourer loomed ahead, its presence a constant reminder of the battle they were about to face. As they approached the anomaly's core, the air grew thicker, the pull of the black hole more intense. The team knew they were walking into the unknown, but they also knew they had no other choice. The fate of reality itself depended on their courage and their willingness to risk everything. As the team set their plan into motion, the ship shuddered violently, its systems straining against the chaotic forces of the collapsing spacetime around them. The labyrinth they navigated was unlike anything they had ever encountered, a twisting, shifting maze where the laws of physics seemed to unravel with every passing moment. "Hold steady," Dr. Voss commanded, her voice cutting through the cacophony of alarms blaring across the cockpit. "We're close, just a little further." But the universe had other plans. Without warning, a gravity storm erupted around them, its immense force pulling at the ship like a predator toying with its prey. The hull groaned under the pressure, and sparks flew from the control panels as the systems began to fail. "We're losing power," Rin shouted, her hands flying over the console in a desperate attempt to stabilize the ship. Jax gripped the controls, his knuckles white as he fought to keep them on course. "If we don't get out of this storm, we're done for," he muttered through gritted teeth. Somehow, they emerged from the storm, battered but intact. The ship's lights flickered weakly, and the air was thick with tension. Ahead, the black hole's core loomed like a monstrous eye, its swirling vortex radiating an almost palpable malevolence. Dr. Voss stared at it, her mind racing. "There's something wrong," she said, her voice barely audible over the hum of the ship. "It's not just a black hole. It's aware." Her words sent a chill through the team. "What do you mean, aware?" Jax asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. Dr. Voss turned to him, her expression grave. It's sentient, it's feeding on us, on our fear, our despair. Every time we doubt, every time we hesitate, it grows stronger. It's not just a force of nature. It's alive and it's fighting back. The realization hit them like a tidal wave. The black hole wasn't just a mindless anomaly. It was a predator, a being that thrived on the emotions of those who dared to challenge it. That's why the artificial intelligence said it couldn't be destroyed. Rin said, her voice trembling, "It's not just a thing, it's a living entity." Time was running out. The black hole's core pulsed with increasing intensity, its gravitational pull growing stronger by the second. "We have to act now, Doctor," Voss said, her voice firm despite the fear gnawing at her. "If we don't stabilize it, it's going to consume everything. We can't let it win." The team worked feverishly, rerouting the ship's core energy to create the stabilizing field the artificial intelligence had described. But the closer they got to the core, the more the black hole seemed to resist. The ship's systems faltered, and the air grew heavier, as if the anomaly itself were trying to crush them. "It knows what we're doing," Jax said, his voice strained. "It's trying to stop us." Dr. Voss clenched her fists, her determination unwavering. "Then we'll have to be faster," she replied. "We can't let it get inside our heads. We have to stay focused. We have to believe we can do this." As they approached the core, the black hole's presence became almost overwhelming. The team could feel its influence, a dark, insidious force that whispered doubts and fears into their minds. But they pressed on, their resolve hardened by the knowledge of what was at stake. The fate of reality itself hung in the balance, and they were the only ones who could tip the scales. With the stabilizing field nearly complete, the ship began to shake violently, the black hole's resistance reaching a fever pitch. "Hold it together," Dr. Voss shouted, her voice barely audible over the chaos. "Just a little longer," but as the final adjustments were made, the black hole unleashed one last, desperate surge of energy. The ship's lights flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. For a moment, it seemed as though all was lost. Then, with a deafening roar, the stabilizing field activated, its light cutting through the black hole's oppressive gloom. The anomaly shuddered, its chaotic energy momentarily contained, but the battle was far from over. The team knew they had only bought themselves a brief reprieve. The black hole was still alive, still fighting, and as they prepared to make their escape, they couldn't shake the feeling that the devourer was far from defeated. As the ship's core surged with energy, the team braced themselves for the final, desperate act. The black hole's resistance was relentless, its gravitational pull warping the very fabric of space around them. Now, Dr. Voss shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. With a deafening roar, the stabilizing field erupted from the ship, its light piercing the darkness like a beacon of hope. The black hole convulsed, its chaotic energy momentarily held at bay, but the victory came at a cost. The ship's core, now drained of power, began to collapse under the strain. "We've got to get out of here," Jax yelled, his hands gripping the controls as the ship shuddered violently. The team barely managed to escape the black hole's grasp as the anomaly imploded, its swirling vortex collapsing in on itself. The ship hurtled through the void, its systems barely functioning, until they finally emerged into the calm of open space. Silence filled the cockpit, broken only by the faint hum of the ship's failing engines. Dr. Voss leaned back in her seat, her face pale but resolute. "We did it," she whispered, though the weight of their victory felt hollow. Back on Earth, the team was hailed as heroes, but the celebration was short-lived. Dr. Voss stood alone in her observatory, staring at the stars through the massive glass dome. The artificial intelligence's final words echoed in her mind. "The devourer is contained, but not destroyed." She clenched her fists, her thoughts racing. They had stopped the black hole, but at what cost? The ship, their mission, their very understanding of the universe. All of it had been shaken to its core. As she gazed at the stars, a faint signal appeared on her console. At first, she thought it was a glitch, a remnant of the chaos they had just endured. But as she adjusted the sensors, her heart sank. The signal was real, and it was coming from a region of space they had never explored. The readings were unlike anything she had ever seen, more erratic, more powerful, and far more dangerous than the black hole they had just faced. Dr. Voss straightened, her exhaustion replaced by a steely resolve. She turned to her team, who had gathered behind her, their faces etched with concern. "We're not done yet," she said, her voice firm. "The universe isn't finished with us. There's something out there, something worse, and if we don't figure out what it is, everything we've fought for will mean nothing." The team exchanged uneasy glances, but no one argued. They had faced the impossible and survived. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, as Dr. Voss turned back to the console, her fingers flying over the controls. A sense of purpose settled over them. The mystery of the black hole that shouldn't exist had been solved, but the universe was vast, and its secrets were far from uncovered. The story ends with Dr. Voss staring into the void, her mind already racing with plans and possibilities. The stars above seemed to shimmer with a new intensity, as if daring her to uncover their hidden truths. And as the faint signal pulsed on her console, she knew one thing for certain: their journey was far from over. The devourer had been contained, but the universe held more mysteries, more dangers, and more wonders than they could ever imagine. And Dr. Voss was ready to face them all. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more cosmic mysteries and sci-fi adventures. The universe is full of secrets, and we're just getting started. Until next time, keep exploring.